There we go. So fingers crossed, you will be able to. I have also just hit right. All right. So I think everyone has pretty much found their way in here, which is great. So we are going to get started. Now, in terms of Huna and access consciousness, I'm just going to do a few minutes where I give you an overview for people who maybe haven't encountered this modality before. Now, for me, they are two of my favorites. I do about 20 different modalities, and there are some that are my favorites and some that are the firm favorites of my clients. And Huna is definitely one that kind of ticks all of those boxes. And when I've combined it with access consciousness, people sort of love that combination as well. So that's what we're going to be doing. I'll also be having a quick look at, for those of you who filled in the survey, thank you for doing that. And what I'll do is I'll have a quick look at the survey as well for some of the things that people were interested in looking at and wanting to do. So we'll take a look at that. So in terms of Huna, in a nutshell, it's an ancient Hawaiian healing and empowerment methodology. It is absolutely brilliant for working with clients remotely because oftentimes, well, for the past 15 years now, since 2005, I've been doing client sessions by telephone and by Skype and nowadays by video webinar. And Huna is one of those modalities where I can do something here in the United Kingdom and clients in Australia will feel it and benefit from it and get the effects of it. So that's one of the reasons why it's always so popular with people. And it really is about clearing out energetic blocks, cutting old links and ties and connections. So oftentimes people say they haven't heard of Huna, they don't know what it is, but then I would say, have you heard of Ho'oponopono? And there is what I call the social media version of Ho'oponopono, which is the words, I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, thank you. And many people have heard of that. And I say, well, then in essence, you have actually heard of Huna, because Ho'oponopono is part of Huna. And in the book of Huna, and the book of Huna is actually sat on the shelf behind me, in the book of Huna, it's like that big, and Ho'oponopono is one page. So they've heard of an element and an aspect of Huna. So that's that piece around it. And it's said to date back about 35,000 years. When I first did my Huna training, I was struck by how much similarity it had to lots of the other personal development training I was done. And at first I was like, oh, Huna's copying da-da-da-da-da. And I realized, like, oh, hang on a minute, if it's 35,000 years old and that modality has been around for 30 years, I think I've got it the wrong way around. So it was kind of fascinating and enlightening to go out and learn about it. It works with symbols. And it works with the breath. So when I first did Huna, because I did Reiki probably around about 1998. So one of the things I used to say to people in describing it, it's like Reiki on steroids, because people sometimes even feel it as a physical pushback when we're using some of the more, how can we say, strenuous symbols. And the way that it sounds when we do Huna, because you draw the symbols on the breath, and you deliver the symbols on the breath. So it is, so that's what it sounds like when you draw a Huna symbol. So you draw it on the breath and you deliver it on the breath. So that's what we're going to be doing today with regards to the clearing. With the access consciousness, they are two completely separate things. So Huna, ancient Hawaiian, access consciousness created by Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane here. And access consciousness is a way of unlocking old judgments and beliefs. And it centers around this thing called the clearing statement. And so the way it works with access consciousness, I will take a statement that somebody said. They might say, you know, I'm feeling fearful, for example. We will turn that into a clearing statement and then run the clearing statement. So it will be anywhere and everywhere you are feeling fearful, will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that? And if the person that I'm speaking to, or the group in that case that I'm speaking to, is in agreement with clearing that, they'll say yes. And then we run the clearing statement, which is right and wrong, good and bad, or 9-pod pox, shorts, boys and beyonds. And you don't have to understand what the clearing statement means for it to work. It's one of those things that people often have no idea, yet they will feel the effects of that and they will get the benefit of that. And it's what I call the ripple effect. So access consciousness is a separate thing to Huna, but the very first time I combined them, I was a lovely guy called Mark. If any of you have been on my website, you would have maybe seen his testimonial video and his testimonial. So I went to my website, I said, look, I've just learned this thing called access consciousness, which is probably about 6 or 7 years ago now. And I said, I'm gonna combine it with Huna, because I'd done it with a few friends previously and they were just kind of blown away. And I said, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it as a whole breakthrough session, because I figured that the 8-hour breakthrough session could be condensed down into about 3 or 4 hours, which was actually the case. So I went to my e-newsletter. I said, look, I'm trying out this new combination. If anyone wants to book a breakthrough session, it'll be half price because I'm experimenting. Who's up for it? And Mark volunteered. So he was the first person I did the full breakthrough session with. And he laughed and giggled throughout. Every single time I said the clearing statement, he just started laughing. And I'm like, this is really not normally how the breakthrough session goes. People don't sit there. We do have a laugh, don't get me wrong, but they don't spend the whole time laughing every time I say, okay, let's do timeline therapy, or let's do some hypnosis, or let's do an NLP process. They didn't fall about laughing. So he falls about laughing for the whole time. And kind of we're finished, and I'm like, well, I don't know what to do now. So why don't we just reconvene a bit later and we'll see if there's anything we need to follow up on. And when he came to do the follow-up session, there was nothing for us to work on. Everything we were working on previously had completely cleared. So that's why we did the video. I said, well, Mark, while you're here, do you want to do a video? So he, because we're in the same room, and in those days I did teleseminars. I didn't have a video webinar platform, so we were both in the same room. And I said to Mark, look, I'm going to go into my office. So he's in my living room, but I could still hear my echo and feedback. So in the end, I had to send him into the garden. So I'm in here. Mark's in the garden. My neighbour's probably thinking, what the hell is going on today? So he did the testimonial thing in my garden. But it's just been really, really powerful for people. So now, if you have any questions, if you have any queries, you can put them into the chat. So I'm just having a quick look in the chat. Lauren, hopefully you can now hear something. Hey, Naomi. Hi, Farhan. Da, 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 da. Let's see. So hopefully, yes, you can all see and hear what is going on. I haven't used I suppose I could, but there is the main stage. But I think if everybody can hear me now and you have found the way to do that, we will stay here. And if you have any questions, if you have any, hi Chris, if you have any questions, if you have any queries, type them into the chat, particularly if there's something you wanted to clear. Let's see. Right, brilliant. That's cool. So. Let me just see. Perfect. Okay. Actually, let me just see. I wonder if that would work. I'm just going to do something else in terms of application window. All right, so what I'm going to do very quickly, just tell me if, for people who are like saying, I can't hear anything, can you see my screen? If you can, let me know. If you can see my screen. Brilliant, you can do. All right then. So just to give you a sense of how people have experienced Huna, I'm going to, oh yeah, this is one of my favorite Huna sayings. Think not that all wisdom is in your school. And what that means in a nutshell, look, I might think that Huna is one of the best things since sliced bread, and it's not the be all and end all. So there will be a million other ways that you could work on clearing some of these things. And that's one of my favorite sayings from Huna. Now, people often ask, in terms of the Huna itself, does the energy travel? Let's say, for example, if someone couldn't make it live and this was being recorded, could they listen to the recording? Absolutely, yes, they can. And also, this is an example of Huna intention, because I ran a program last year. It was a 10-part Raising Your Money Vibration series. So it was a video webinar series. Before I launched it, I Huna'd the program a couple of days before. So nobody had signed up yet. So I Huna'd the program, didn't really give it any thought. Somebody signed up, sent me an email saying, hey, Marilyn, did you do something? Did you do some Huna before we started? Because, this morning, a revenue stream that I thought was gone, suddenly money started coming in. I'm like, oh, that's really interesting, cool. somebody else then emailed me, and bear in mind, they'd only just signed up. They hadn't, none of them had spoken to each other. Somebody else signed up and said, well, did you do something to the program? Because just been offered this great job, more money, da, da, da. I was like, oh, it's really interesting. Cool. Then somebody else emailed me after they signed up and said, Marilyn, did you Huna the, so here's what he said. He said, did you Huna the online program before we started? Because I've already had money and new deals coming in as soon as I signed up. So it's one, and for me, even I was like, whoa, because one person, oh, it's interesting. Two people, oh, it's cool. Third person, you're like, okay, something's going on here. And a lot of people had that experience. So for me, it was like, wow, even before something goes on, that can happen. And these are some of the emails that I got from people who were kind of asking about that. And, you know, this is one saying the program's working already. Money is coming in from a new channel. Somebody's saying financial windfall of multiple six figures. So we had some really cool stuff. One of the crazy things that happened during this program was there's a lovely lady called Pippa Neeb who's out in Australia. She took part. And I use this as an example because a few years before, again, I was doing something new. I put together a new MP3. So I went to my e-newsletter list and said, I'm looking for a couple of volunteers to listen to the MP3. Let me have some feedback. And Pippa couldn't make the live session, so she listened to the recording a few days later. And this was the email that she sent me saying, initially my third eye and throat and heart center and solar plexus felt compressed. It was uncomfortable, to say the least, but after the first round of Huna, I sensed the image of a triangle of fire. She says, during and after the second round, I felt the pain being drawn out of my body via my heart center. I slowly began to feel lighter. My heart center opened up more than previously, and I felt like I was glowing from the inside out. And as I'm typing the phrase, as if the light of my soul is now able to shine through my heart center, comes to mind. Then she talks about the third round, the expanding into the universe, having a sense of being more open, clearing blocks, feeling confident and happy, positive. Now, that was it. That was cool when she wrote it a few years ago. When I was running the Raising Your Money Vibration program, I'm reading this to the group and suddenly I just get goosebumps and I was just like, oh my God. What Pippa is saying is the order and sequence that I did the Huna symbols. Now, even somebody who does Huna, if I go, they've got no idea what that symbol was because we all draw it at different speeds and it will sound different. Your intonation and where you use your breath points will be different. Even if she did have some, even if, you know, whatever, we were on the telephone. I was on the telephone, so she couldn't even have seen me doing the triangle, for example, or she couldn't have seen me doing a circle, or she couldn't have seen me doing the wave of light that makes you gasp. She wouldn't have seen any of that. All she would have heard is a series of, that's it. And I realized a year or two or so years later, when I was reading this last year, that she described exactly the order and sequence. And I also had, with the picture that I used for, I don't think I've got it in this slide deck, but for the picture that I used for the opening of this, where I was at the TCCHE and Greg Braden, Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton were on the stage, had exactly the same experience. I was doing the Huna. I just did 3 minutes because it was just impromptu. I was just about to go on stage. The organizer said, I've realized that people from Grenfell Towers are downstairs. Could you do some sort of healing or meditation before we start? So I literally had like 10 seconds notice and I hadn't really even been formally introduced to the group. So I stood there, did the Huna, and for the next 4 days, people were coming up and saying, oh my God, when you started, I felt like this waterfall. What they would have had no idea of, I used the water symbol. Somebody else said at one point, I could just feel this thing spinning around me. At that point where they were saying it happened, that's where I did the cloak of light. Somebody else, oh my God, I just felt this heat, da, da, da. That's where I did the fire symbol. They would have known, they knew nothing. They didn't even know what I was doing. They just know there was a woman on stage waving her hands about. And so it can be really quite profound. And when people are blocked, so this is Lack Loy, some of you may know Lack. He was blocked with an issue where he'd been out of contract for 9 months. And when you get to that stage, you start eating into your savings. And another friend, David Key, had told him about the Huna that I'd done with him and said, Lack, you should call Marilyn, book yourself a Huna session. So he phones me up. We did it over the phone. We spent about 5 minutes. I then get the message that I always get, you're not going to believe this. And he says, you're not going to believe this. And then went on to say that contract that just died, just nothing, suddenly out of the blue, got in touch, can you start tomorrow? And he's been working ever since when I saw him a couple of years later, a friend of mine, Suki, was hosting a dinner, walked. I said, oh my God, how are you? And he's like, oh man, I'm so busy with work. And I had to giggle to myself. It's like, when we met, there was no work. And that's happened to so many people. Some of you know one of the people in the membership group did exactly the same with her. A couple of days later, get a message in Facebook saying, I've got a problem. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is after we'd done the Huna. So I opened the message. I said, what's going on? She said, I've just been offered 2 jobs. The problem was I don't know which one to choose. And again, like Lack, she'd been out of contract for 9 months. I don't know what it is about the 9 months, but she'd been out of contract for 9 months. So it can be pretty profound in terms of what happens for people. And that was Lack saying, you know, I was saying, can I share your story with people? And he's saying, yes, of course, anything to spread awareness of this amazing spiritual technology. So, you know, we have some interesting things that happen with regards to the Huna. And so the way it is going to work this time round is that we are going to do the Huna energy clearings. We're going to look at if there's anything particularly you want to clear. So I'm going to go over to the survey that some of you filled in. That was brilliant. Thank you. And Victoria, I don't know if you're meaning to be on screen, but if you don't, you can click leave in the right hand side, because if this is being recorded, you will be on this, you'll be on this recording. So if you want to do that, you can just click leave and that will take you out of the video space. But yeah, so the Huna has been pretty profound for people. And the very, very first time I experienced it, that was probably, I don't know, what were we now? Probably, I don't know, 20 years ago that I've been doing it. It's probably about 17 years ago, something like that. And it was doing a kind of clearing with someone. Where did I put that one? That's not the one. I wonder if I've got it in here. It might not be in here because, yeah, it might not be in there, but it was, oh, that's the one I was looking for. So it was for a friend who had phoned up drunk and suicidal, and they were going to kill themselves. So I asked if they could hold off and I'll do some Huna for them. And this was like, you know, in the evening, 9-10 o'clock at night. I was working on writing a proposal, weirdly, a flexible working implementation proposal for going into a local authority to implement smart and remote and flexible working. So I'm writing the proposal. Finished that about 1 o'clock in the morning, went to bed, completely forgot about the Huna. So woke up around 3 o'clock in the morning. So, oh my God, I didn't do the Huna. So I'm sat in bed thinking about this person, sending them the Huna. I went back to sleep. Next morning, email from them saying, hey, sorry about last night, had a lot to drink. I'd had a really bad breakup a few months ago, hadn't been sleeping properly, etc., etc. And then they said, hey, this is the point where you tell me I'm losing my mind, that you didn't do anything. But they said, look, last night around 3 o'clock in the morning, I suddenly felt really calm, really peaceful, really relaxed, had the best night's sleep I've had in months. And that's the point where I've got goosebumps, because at the time they had that experience was when I was here doing the Huna. They're somewhere in South London, or South London, as we used to say, and they're drunk, not in a good emotional state, but everything I sent over is exactly what they experienced, exactly what they felt. And then they kind of, you know, they drifted off into a wonderful state. And that, for me, was my first real wake up, because I know energy travels, but it just made me go, oh my God, this is bonkers. How does that even happen? So that's the first time I really realized the power of it. And that kind of then woke me up to going, we don't always need to be in the same room with people. So that's a little bit of an insight into the Huna. And now let's see. I'm going to have a quick look down here. 1 second. Righty. Oh, actually, that's cool. So Annika says, so we had a crazy time at the weekend. It was a little bit bonkers. I was live streaming my 3-day photo reading workshop out to a family in Australia. And because they'd already paid everything. They'd booked to come to the photo reading workshop. So they should have flown into London last week. They were probably going to be leaving, I think, tomorrow or Wednesday. And of course, with lockdown, coronavirus, couldn't come, had to, you know, so flights cancelled, etc. So I streamed it out to Australia, but I streamed it in Australian time. So on Friday we did 6 a.m. till 11 a.m. UK time. On Saturday, we did midnight until 7 a.m. And yesterday, Sunday, we did 1 a.m. in the morning till 8 a.m. and Annika was there. So Annika's just saying, over the weekend, I got really connected to the energy fields during the photo reading course. If you could do something to keep that connection going, that would be amazing. It takes more effort to do it on my own, no idea why, but keeping it going is the current goal. That's very, very interesting. I like that. And that's probably the was sort of when I was talking, I won't say her name, but the mother, when I was talking to her about those states of higher consciousness. That sounds like what you're sort of describing, which photo reading is brilliant for, even though people think about reading faster. So, okay, we'll keep that one in mind. Actually, where's my clipboard? Ooh, 1 second. Let me do that. So, connected to the energy field. So not trusting divine timing. Inner child healing, feelings of abandonment. Feelings of abandonment. So clearing for letting go. Right. Oh, Chris, I love your name. Seriously, it's going to sound a bit weird though. I mean, if you've never worked with me, you won't know about the jukebox, but I basically have a jukebox in my head. Like I will see something or hear something, or there's something I'm meant to say to a client when we're doing a coaching session or a breakthrough session. And if I don't say it, the song will come into my head, and then, and it's like, I'll give you a chance to say it. If you don't say it by the second time I've reminded you, by the third time we'll do it with music. So it's a bit like a neurological version of Glee, let's say. But whenever I hear your song, whenever I see your name, there was a group growing up in the 80s called Crisscross, and Crisscross will make you jump. And whenever I see your name, it's so much, and I love that song. It was one of the songs when it came, I was like, yay! But your name always reminds me of that. So doing some clearing around the uncertainty. So doing some clearing around the current uncertainty, fear, anxiety, patterns triggered. You're basically describing the whole of lockdown, lack of physical contact and connection. The lack of money. Alrighty. Clarity and guidance. Yeah, I would definitely say if there was something, if there will be a summing up of sort of why I was thinking, I think it might be a good idea to do this. I think you've basically just summed it up. So I'm half talking to myself. I'm going to say it for the purposes of, if you're going, what are you talking about? So it's kind of, it will be great to do some clearing around the current uncertainty, fear, anxiety, and the patterns triggered, the lack of physical connection, lack of money, and to get clarity and guidance on how to move forwards. I think that kind of sort of sums up what is kind of going on for people at this current time. Right. Do you know what? Oh, I wonder if I can do that. Let's see. I'm going to just see if I can do that. Oh, Fahan, you're most welcome. And those of you who follow me, you know I'm always playing with technology. So this is a brand new platform, one that has only been out a few months. So I'm one of the beta test group people. So, and what that means is they're still kind of working out some of the bugs as well. So it's not absolutely perfect. You know, it's good. And there's still a few little kinks in the armor. So let's see. Oh, good. Oh, Chris, like, I'm not going mad. Chris says, haha, Marilyn, I remember that song. Glad it makes you laugh. Seriously, it's a song that has really good memories for me. And it's one that I don't know what the song right off today is. A few years ago, let's say it would have been something like Happy, where people hear it and everybody kind of gets involved. When that one came out, that's basically what that song was. Everybody would crisscross and stand up and jump. So it's definitely a feeling of joy whenever I see your name. All right, so let's do this. La, 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 la. Okay. What I'm just seeing if I can do is I'm going to see if I can just do a cut and paste. So I'm like, there's a lot. Because I was just writing little notes. I'm like, that's not going to work, Marilyn. That's not going to work. There's a lot of comments. So let me just see if I can be a little bit more. Okay, that's still running to 7 pages, but it's okay. So what I might do is very quickly print that out. Or I could look at it on screen. But yeah, I was thinking I'll just jot down what people are saying. I'm like, okay, can't keep up with all of that. There's a lot that people are saying. Okay. Let's see. So you don't need to be on camera for this one. It's just in case there's a recording. Everybody would want their face to be on camera. Let's just see. Right, where for me, yeah, that's the one. So it just says leave, but you don't need to be on camera for this one. Oh, you land here and you can see the chat and hear what's going on. There's nothing else that you need to. There's nothing else that you need to click. You should just be able to see and hear what's going on. And I have actually. That's one of the things I've spoken to them about several times, and said it's really confusing for people because they arrive and then it says participate, and so there's almost a thought that you have to click it to participate, and you.
That's what I did. Yeah. And
you don't need to click participate. You're already participating. You just need to be able to see and hear. You don't need to be on camera. So I've been saying to them over and over and over again, the participate thing is so confusing because people think they have to press it. And then if you're doing a record, okay, I'm just going to see, make sure there's anything else. And we'll see how many of these we can get through. And Anne says, laugh out loud, the jukebox. I love it. I know. Well, yeah, you've heard the jukebox. It's a little bit crazy. Right. All right. So what I'm going to have to do for a second is I might, in a second, just whiz those off to the print. Do I want to whiz them off to the printer? Nah, do you know what? It's good enough here. We'll do it here. Because that's a lot where it's like it's 9 pages of comment of things to maybe add. All right, so before we get started, number one, and you don't all have to type yes, but if a few of you want to, that's cool, but you say yes to yourself. If you are willing to receive the healing and the energy and the clearing, you give yourself permission. And do I have your permission to be like, yes, yes, yes. So cool. And also that's going to be what you need to say when we do the clearing statement. It's like, yes, 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 that's cool. Brilliant. And when we do the clearing, although you're all in your respective places, when I say, are you okay to release, resolve and destroy and uncreate all of that, you can say yes. If you want to type yes, you can type yes as well. Brilliant. So people saying yes, yes, you have my permission, yes, thank you, yes, cool, we're good, fabulous. And part of that is, I think, one of the things that gets the energy moving. And the first time I ever combined the two of these, when I was running a photo reading workshop, and I realized that a big part of photo reading was not the 5 steps, which are actually quite straightforward, very straightforward. It's people believing that it's possible to photo read at 25,000 words per minute, and photo read a whole book in 5 minutes, and be able to remember and record what they've read, and, you know, accessing their creativity and their intuition and their decision-making skills and all the rest of it. And I thought, you know what, it's a belief thing. So I just did a extra session at the end, did it with a group, and I was working with people individually. So I go around to each person and say, what do you most need? Is it clarity? Is it calming things down? Is it firing things up, etc.? I was working with each person individually, so they were saying what they wanted. I'm doing the clearing. The one person who didn't participate, he just sat in the room listening and just sort of nodding yes. It got to the point, somebody said something. I then said to that person, will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that? And the whole room in unison went, yes. It was, and then we all fell about laughing, because in that moment I realized that we're not just clearing for one person, we were pretty much clearing for everyone. And a bit fluff. And the person who didn't actively put anything into the mix, he waited for everyone to go, and then, because he is a barrister, very secretive by the nature of the work, and he says, Marilyn, I just wanted to thank you for that session. He said, I realized while you were clearing for other people, I could feel it clearing for me as well. So I didn't need to, put something in, because I was resonating with what everyone else said. And I found that to be the case since I've been adding that to the photo reading workshop. Now will be for the last 7 or something years that I'll be clearing for one person, and it's the ripple effect, and it's clearing for everyone. So if I say a statement and you kind of go, oh, that sounds good, just say yes, and give yourself permission and invite the clearing in for that particular piece. Right, so let me go back, and also I've got the ones from the survey questionnaire on my thing, and make sure there's no extras. All right, let's rock and roll. Let's rock and roll. And let's start from the top. Okay, here we go. Anywhere and everywhere you're holding on to things, something, and this could be spiritual, physical, emotional energy, and things, and even people, places, etc. So anywhere and everywhere you're holding on to things which no longer serve you, will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that? And if you will, you just say yes, or you can type yes into the comments as well if you want. Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 for POC, shorts, boys and beyonds. And anywhere and everywhere there is a sense of worry, there's a sense of fear, there's a sense of nervousness, there's a sense of anxiety. Anywhere and everywhere that is the case, will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that energy everywhere it no longer serves you? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 for POC, shorts, boys and beyonds. And anywhere and everywhere there are patterns being triggered by what's being done, what's being said, even by what's not being said and what's not being done. So anywhere and everywhere you're being triggered by the patterns that are emerging with everything to do with this COVID-19, the coronavirus. Anywhere and everywhere you've been triggered and that no longer serves you, will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 for POC, shorts, boys and beyonds. And anywhere and everywhere you're feeling the physical, the spiritual, the mental, and the emotional impact of lockdown, and the impact of self-isolation, the impact of not having that one-to-one human connection, and the impact of not having that human touch and human interaction and dynamic. Anywhere and everywhere you're feeling the negative impact of that, will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that in its entirety? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 for POC, shorts, boys and beyonds. And anything and everything where you find there is a sense of devastation about what's been happening, what's been taken away in the midst of this pandemic, anywhere and everywhere you feel that sense of devastation and it no longer serves you, will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 for POC, shorts, boys and beyonds. And anywhere and everywhere there's a sense of feeling stuck, there's a sense of feeling stagnated, there's a sense of not being able to move. Anywhere and everywhere there's that sense of the stuckness and the sense of stagnation. Anywhere that no longer serves you in this lifetime or even in previous lifetimes, will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 for POC, shorts, boys and beyonds. And anywhere and everywhere, there is a sense of, it's kind of like the abyss and the not knowing, the uncertainty of it all, the confusion of it all, that sense where it's either, you know, one end of the scale, you almost feel numb to it, and on the other end of the scale, being triggered by every little thing and being worried about every little thing that goes on. So anywhere and everywhere, there's that sense of, I guess the word for it might be mass hysteria. Anywhere and everywhere, you're being impacted by that sense of mass hysteria. Will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that in its entirety where it no longer serves you? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 pod pocs, shorts, boys and beyonds. And anywhere and everywhere there have been emotional blockages, and maybe it's bringing up things from the past. Anywhere and everywhere you have those emotional blockages and they no longer serve you, will you now release, resolve and destroy and uncreate all of that? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 pod pocs, shorts, boys and beyonds. And anywhere and everywhere has been that sense of lack, not enough. For us in the UK, manifesting with the toilet paper, actually in Australia as well, manifesting with the toilet paper and the hand sanitizers, but everywhere and everywhere there's been this sense of lack, there's been this sense of not enough, and that's now being felt financially with not enough money, not enough flow, not enough cash flow. Anywhere and everywhere that is an issue. And the energy, the dynamic of that sense of lack no longer serves you. Will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that in its entirety? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 pod pocs, shorts, boys and beyonds. And anywhere and everywhere, there's a sense of fear around the virus itself. And that also leads into the fear for your family, fear for yourself, fear for your health and well-being, fear for your friends, fear for your loved ones. So anywhere and everywhere you're carrying the fear of the virus, and that has been stopping and blocking and slowing you down. Will you now release, resolve and destroy and uncreate all of that energy where it no longer serves you? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 pod pocs, shorts, boys and beyonds. Anywhere and everywhere there is the kind of the fear where the bringing up old patterns, old beliefs about the lack of money and about putting yourself first. So anywhere and everywhere there's been a sense of guilt where you don't need to have it, about self-care, about putting yourself first, about looking after yourself so that you are then equipped with the resources to help and support others. So anywhere and everywhere you've kind of made yourself wrong for putting yourself first, and that no longer serves you. Will you now release, resolve and destroy and uncreate all of that in its entirety? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 pod pocs, shorts, boys and beyonds. And anywhere and everywhere you carry feelings of unworthiness, whether they relate to this lifetime, childhood, previous lifetimes. Anywhere and everywhere you carry that sense of unworthiness which no longer serves you. Will you now release, resolve and destroy and uncreate all of that in its entirety? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 pod pocs, shorts, boys and beyonds. Anywhere and everywhere, there's a sense of the fear of not knowing, the fear of the unknown, the fear of uncertainty. It almost is like there's a dark tunnel and nobody, because oftentimes the people that you look to have the answers and lead in such situations, pretty much we're all in the same boat together. So anywhere and everywhere there's been that fear of uncertainty, the fear of not knowing, the fear about not being able to see or even comprehend the light at the end of the tunnel. Will you now release, resolve and destroy and uncreate all of that where it no longer serves you? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 pod pocs, shorts, boys and beyonds. And anywhere and everywhere you're carrying a sense of loneliness, and it almost feels also like a sense of sadness. So anywhere and everywhere there's that sense of loneliness, there's that sense of sadness, and that no longer serves you. Will you now release, resolve and destroy and uncreate all of that in its entirety? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 pod pocs, shorts, boys and beyonds. Anywhere and everywhere, it's almost as though elements of the world have been lacking the energy of collaboration, lacking the energy of support, lacking the energy of win-win. So anywhere and everywhere, the kind of, it's almost like the balance and the dynamic of the world had been misapplied and misidentified. Anywhere and everywhere, the world itself had gotten out of balance, and that no longer serves you and serves us as the greater collective. Will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that in its entirety now too? Right and wrong, good and bad, all 9 pod pocs, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Anywhere and everywhere, there's been that sense of, the best way I'll put it then is stalling, you know, where you're spinning your wheels, like, and so that sense of waiting, that sense of not moving forwards, that sense of being in a holding pattern. Anywhere and everywhere, that holding pattern no longer serves you. Will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that? Right and wrong, good and bad, all 9 pod pocs, all shorts, boys, and beyonds. Now, this is kind of, it's almost like it's coming in straight away. It's like the juxtaposition of that is anywhere and everywhere, there's been this sense of busyness in terms of doing things for the sake of it and almost kind of running your system down into burnout, when actually what would best serve you would be that thing of the calmness, the sitting, the waiting, the alignment. So anywhere and everywhere, there's been that sense of busyness and burnout, and that no longer serves you. Will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that in its entirety? Right and wrong, good and bad, all 9 pod pocs, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Okay, the way I'm going to describe this one, I don't know if you know those kind of kiddie harnesses. When I was younger, there was like it's like there's a bit that goes along the front of the chest and it goes over the shoulders, round the body. It's got reins, and your parents hold the reins, and so they can rein you back in. It feels as though you, or when I say you, I don't mean like you personally, I'm talking to the person that I'm talking to, but if it resonates, you can have it too. But it feels as though you've knowingly, and you can pretend you didn't know, but you've been knowingly holding yourself back. Now, what's happened is this environment is calling upon you to come forward, step up, however you kind of language that. But because you've got the reins on, you're like, oh, crap. It's almost like, well, you're going to need another excuse now. And I'm sure you could find one. But it's like anywhere and everywhere, you've been holding yourself back, and you know that it's now time to step up or step out or step forwards. Anything and everything that's been stopping and blocking you that no longer serves you, will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that in its entirety? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 pod pocs, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Seriously, it's almost like if this was a one-to-one session, this is the point where the client's going, oh no, but I don't want to do ... Now in this case, I heard I don't want to do Facebook Lives, but it could be something completely different, whatever that thing is for you. So anywhere and everywhere, there's a sense of kind of, you know, misapplied and misidentified resistance to stepping in, stepping up, or stepping forwards. And I go a step further and say stepping into your power. That's the way I'm going to put it. So anywhere and everywhere, there's a sense of resistance to that. And you know that resistance is legacy stuff and it no longer serves you. Will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that in its entirety? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 pod pocs, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Right. Actually, let me. I have been out of the webinar space for the whole time, so let me just go back and see if anything's happening there. Everywhere, not just the UK. Absolutely, you're right. Yes, they're all having a good old bun fight over it. Let me just make sure. I think we're good. We just got loads of yeses in there, so that is cool. Right, okay, so I'm going to also, because there's a couple of what I wanted to pull from that survey as well. The survey was very interesting, and while I'm here, let me just tell you. Ideas for taking your work online, that was 42.9% so far. Support from a coach and information about how to effectively work from home, 14.3%, 14.3%, so they are a split tie. And then the next biggest one after ideas to how to take your work online was clairvoyance and tarot reading. And that was 28.6%. Actually, for those of you in the membership group, it is Tarot Tuesday tomorrow. We're cool. So we're doing the readings of the Facebook Live. Let's see. Also, in terms of what will be most useful, I'm just looking at that. Gosh, that's a bit weird. Clairvoyance and tarot reading in that second part of the survey is now 57.1%. So that's the lion's share. Maybe I'll have to do another one of these, maybe on clairvoyance and tarot at some point. Okay. Anywhere and everywhere, there's been that sense of you haven't even got the truth behind the virus. Oh gosh, I've already thought of the next statement, but give me a chance to say this one. So anywhere and everywhere, you have that sense that you haven't got the truth behind the virus, and that is causing a sense of worry. That's causing a sense of concern. That's causing that whole feeling of apprehension. Anywhere and everywhere, that whole thing about the truth behind the virus is unclear and causing stress and worry and anxiety. Will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that in its entirety? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9, pod pocs, shorts, boys and beyonds. And anywhere and everywhere, there's a sense of also the stress and the worry, even the anger and frustration being caused by what people are calling the conspiracy theories. It might be the truth, it might be conspiracy, who knows, time will tell. But anywhere and everywhere, that is then causing a sense of stress, of worry, the clashing, the fear, the anxiety, the uncertainty, and even depending on which side of the fence, I've seen both sides being ridiculed, having that sense of being ridiculed. So anything and everything that feeds into and feeds off of which no longer serves you, will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that in its entirety? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9, pod pocs, shorts, boys and beyonds. So anywhere and everywhere, there's been that sense of disappointment in terms of the plans you have, the plans you had made, the things you intended to do and achieve in this time period. So anywhere and everywhere, there is that sense of deep disappointment. Will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that in its entirety? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9, pod pocs, shorts, boys and beyonds. And anywhere and everywhere, you are missing that sense of travel. You are missing that sense of, I guess the way it comes into my head is the freedom to roam. So anywhere and everywhere, you've been missing that and almost longing for that. It's as though your soul is now like crying out for that. Anywhere and everywhere, that energy is blocking your sense of perspective and calm and peace and balance and alignment. Will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9, pod pocs, shorts, boys and beyonds. And anywhere and everywhere, there's that sense of the fear of loss. And that's maybe fear for family members, fears for those who have vulnerabilities, fears for those who have been diagnosed with COVID-19. So anywhere and everywhere, there's that sense and there's that fear of loss, and that it's almost like the heaviness and the weight, like the blanket, the envelope of that no longer serves you. Will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9, pod pocs, shorts, boys and beyonds. Not really sure what that has to do with it, but the next thing that comes into my head is anywhere and everywhere, you have kind of lost your own voice. You know, like the ability to speak up, the ability to speak out, the ability to express yourself. Maybe it's even the ability to express these fears and these worries and anxieties. So for anyone with whom that resonates, if that no longer serves you and those blockages, and I guess if we're talking about it in chakra terms, if you work in that sort of way, it will be the things around the throat chakra, but also the opening of the heart, and even that almost like that place of power and truth in the solar plexus. So anywhere and everywhere that resonates with you and the energy of that no longer serves you, will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that in its entirety? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9, pod pocs, shorts, boys and beyonds. I'm not really sure I'm going to phrase it like that, but give me another way to say it that isn't quite so offensive. Okay, let's put it like this. Because I was then, you know, in terms of the, it kind of, I say it, anyway, never mind. It was like the third eye thing, but it was the statement, the way I'm going to put it, the watered down version is anywhere and everywhere you're not seeing what you know you're seeing. It's, you know, like you pretend you haven't seen something like la, la, la. So, okay, let me put it this way. Anywhere and everywhere you're pretending not to see, and you are pretending not to know. And I actually think this is related to the stepping up, stepping out, and stepping into your own power. I think these two are connected. So anywhere and everywhere you're pretending not, it's kind of like the next, give me a chance. It's kind of like the next steps. Anything else you want to say before I start, rather than interrupting your flow of it? Come on then. So it's related to the stepping up, stepping out. It's about the question of next steps. Where do we go from here? Okay, right. So what this is, it's kind of like, you know, sometimes we get, oh, I don't know what to do next. And the other voice to go, liar. Of course, you know, I've told you a million times. You do know, you just don't want to do it. It's that kind of dynamic. So let's say when I say stepping up, stepping out, or stepping forwards, or stepping into your power, if something immediately comes to mind that you could do, but then you yes but yourself to go, yeah but and then you're going to talk it away, and kind of, you know, the reasons, excuses, etc. will come in. It's all of that kind of energy, whereas you can see the, I don't know, the truth sounds a bit strong, but that's the way it presents itself. You can see the truth of what's next for you, but then you go, oh crap. And you go, and you're not going to do it. You're going to do that. And then you're going to pretend that you don't know what to do. So for anyone for whom that long story resonates and that no longer serves you, will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that in its entirety? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 pod pocs, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And anywhere and everywhere, the way I'm going to describe it is you're almost going a little bit stir crazy. You're there, you're on your own, you are in isolation, you're in lockdown. And even those words, isolation, lockdown, curfew, they all have that weight to it. So anywhere and everywhere, you've been feeling the weight of that. You've been feeling the pressure of that. And you kind of almost been climbing the walls and going a bit stir crazy. You're not even sure how much longer you can survive that. Anywhere and everywhere that feeling of oppression no longer serves you, will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 pod pocs, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And anywhere and everywhere, you might even have the thought, and it might be even at the back of your mind, where you kind of feel like the way it presents itself is your civil liberties have been taken away. And even though you kind of go, look, it's for the good of all, but you're still a bit angry about it. So anywhere and everywhere, there's that energy, and that doesn't sit well with you as an underlying principle. Anywhere and everywhere, the energy of that, the kind of the source, the kind of the anger, the frustration that it brings up, even if it feels like some of it is kind of simmering under, so you might almost put it in there, it hasn't quite hit mass yet, but there's something that's off with you, and you maybe haven't been able to consciously put your finger on it. So anything and everything that is related to and feeds into and feeds off of, will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that in its entirety? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 pod pocs, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Let me just. Because that. Okay. Yeah, actually. Sorry. Internal conversation while reading. It's like, yeah, cool, whatever, we're good. Okay. How will I say that? Because that won't really make sense to people. Let me give it another way. Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to. So I'll have to say it now because I'm like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. But now I can hear the song "Breathe Life Into Me." It's one from the 80s, one of those like ballady songs. Okay, I'll just say it like that, and somebody might go, "Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about." The statement was, because it was then where I then see a visual of the lungs, and of course the lungs are playing a key part in what COVID-19 is all about and the place that it's kind of attacking. So it was the statement is, it's about breathing life into yourself and breathing life into things. And this is, and when I say things, I mean like long held dreams, lifelong projects, things that if something came to an end tomorrow, if somebody like, okay, planet's ending tomorrow, here's your feedback form, write down all the things you wish you had done and were more than capable of doing and you never did them. And that's the segment we're talking about on the life feedback form, if we want to put it that way. So it's anywhere and everywhere, there are things that you are here to do. There are things that you're, very funny. I can now hear Craig David, born to do it. So anywhere and everywhere, there are things that you're born to, you kind of almost feel as though you were born to do. We all have free will. I'm sure there are a million one paths that we could take in our lifetime. That's a whole other conversation. But that sense where you just feel like you were born to do it, in the words of Craig David, and we're back. So what is it? I don't know. If anybody's feeling willing enough to tell me in the thread, is there anyone for whom this whole thing about stepping up, stepping out, stepping forwards resonates? Because that has come back again as being connected to this stream of consciousness. Let me put it that way. So if there's anyone who, because I just could be talking around in circles and people going, no, I don't know what you're talking about. That doesn't relate to me at all. But if there's anyone where that does resonate on some level, just you could, okay, yep, stepping up and stepping into, okay, good. So I'm not, because I'm like, what the hell? I've already done that. But it's like, as you'll know, if those of you who've done sessions with me, you will know that when there's an idea that something we need to work on, it doesn't go away. The questions keep coming about it. We keep coming back to it from different angles. And that's why at the start of a breakthrough session, I always say to clients, number one, this isn't a regular conversation where you talk and I listen. There'll be times I completely ignore you, or I'm going to interrupt you in the middle of a sentence because what you're saying to me at this moment isn't relevant to what we're doing. By the same token, it may feel like we are going round in circles because I'm going to be asking you similar questions in a different way from a number of angles and perspectives, because what we want to do is get to the heart of it. And this feels like one of those things because it just keeps coming up. So okay, so yes, interesting. I've had other health issues with the lungs. It feels like a massive void where we aren't stepping into the limelight. Different levels, personal and consciousness level, all of the above, all of the above. There's a massive blockage. I can feel it. It's really unflooding. Totally. I feel like you were speaking directly to me. Yes, this totally resonates with me, Marilyn. Stepping up and stepping into my power. Yup. Yes. Okay, good. Because it keeps coming up. I'm like, oh, for goodness sake, have we not already done this? Going into unconsciousness sleep state while listening. Cool. Fabulous. Like a massive hole in the stage. Okay. Been avoiding putting myself out there. Oh, see, it's all coming out now. Good, I love it. Because I haven't been looking. I've been on a different page. I'm in Microsoft Word, and when I'm in Word, I'm not here. I can't see what's going on. So I'm talking. I'm like, I might come back and go, look, there's no viewers, or like, whatever, Marilyn. But it just feels like this is one of the big themes for the day. Have had so many pushes, but I seem blocked and fearful. For me, it's a massive amount of stuff to do and to get to the next level and keeping going at it. And at the same time, there's so much overwhelm. Okay, right. Oh, Farhan, we know about you and the coming and Farhan, you are not going to believe this. This is the absolute God's honest truth. Cross my heart, hope to die, however you want to put that. Today, Farhan, I was looking for something and I was on my own resources page on my website, clicked on one of the recordings, and it's an interview that I did with you where, again, I was looking for volunteers for one of the processes, and I didn't listen to the whole thing. I listened to the first few minutes, but I think it's the one where you said you were washing up, listening to the MP3, and then you thought, oh, I need to sit down for this one. But I listened to that a couple of hours ago, and we must have done that, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. But I was listening to your voice today, Farhan, and when you were talking about the being the in and the out, I'm not kidding you, a few hours ago. That is right. Okay, right. All right then. So cool. At least I'm not talking good, because I was like, oh God, I might be just talking to myself. Okay. Okay, right, I'm just scrolling because there's been a lot that's happened since I've been away from this page. So let me just do that. Because that is a lot of data. Okay. My brain is like, you might need to do another session, Marilyn. This is a lot. Okay, because this is almost like when if I looked at everything, this is a breakthrough session. Right, let me now go back up. I think I was on page 5. Page 5 of 14. Right, let me just find where I was. Actually, where I was, let me just do that first. Let's keep in track. Go back to the survey. Okay, we're cool with that. Perfect. All right. All right, so the way I'm going to put this one, coming back to the chat stream, oh, now you see, I was listening to a guy called Gary Vaynerchuk today. He's doing like a tea with Gary thing. And when he first started doing it, I was like, oh my God, that's my Think Tank Thursday sessions. So I've been doing those every month for the last 3 years in the membership group, where people can ask anything they want and I'll just answer. So Gary has started doing some of those. And I was talking today, one of the questions I put in, because I'm just reading one of the comments here, it's about the balance between having gifts and something to share versus what I'm seeing is the backlash against sales and offering your services for any kind of payment. And I'd say for the past 7 weeks, basically all I've done is write for free, speak for free, answer questions for free, answer messages for free, because I was just like, look, people are just in a state of flux, so let's just do this thing. However, there does get to a point where you go, all right, I need to actually on some level get back to work. So it's kind of what you've done. That's the sort of question I was putting out there to Gary Vee today. What's the balance between those points? And just kind of reading the comment that you've written, that's a similar kind of, energy and dynamic. And that's in terms of, getting your work out there, being seen, creating and increasing your client, your student base, and blocks that have stopped you from having a safe home. All right, so how do we want to put that one? All right, it's a simple one. We can just do it like that. All right. So anywhere and everywhere, it's almost things, well, we know things, not almost, it is. Anywhere and everywhere, things are wildly out of balance, out of kilter, and it's either gone too much one way or too much the other. So anywhere and everywhere, things are out of balance and that no longer serves you. Will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that in its entirety? Right and wrong, good and bad, all 9 Popoc shorts, boys and beyonds. And anywhere and everywhere, there's a blockage in that sense of financial flow so that you can look after your own well-being and you can look after the well-being of your family. Anywhere and everywhere that energy has been stopped and blocked, will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that in its entirety? Right and wrong, good and bad, all 9 Popoc shorts, boys and beyonds. And anywhere and everywhere, there might even be a reluctance to be seen, a reluctance to be heard, which could then be stopping and blocking your ability to be out in the world. Will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that in its entirety? Right and wrong, good and bad, all 9 Popoc shorts, boys and beyonds. Anywhere and everywhere, there's been something going on with that sense of abandonment. Many people in the thread have also kind of languaged it in the kind of the energy of the inner child. So anywhere and everywhere, there are aspects of the inner child that it is now time and ready for you to heal. Anything that's been stopping and blocking that healing process and where it no longer serves you, will you now release, resolve, and destroy and uncreate all of that in its entirety? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 Popoc shorts, boys and beyonds. And also just something to add into the mix there. It's kind of my voice like, well, you didn't do your usual disclaimer. Right. One of the things I will say about all of this work, my intention when I'm doing it is for your greatest and highest good, such that you come out of this process feeling better than you did when you went in. I would also say one of the things you want to do for yourself as well, because everybody will release things at different rates, different paces. That's why I'm saying in the way that's right for you, because it's not one size fits all. One of the things you want to ask of yourself, and the way I would say is you ask your unconscious mind, you ask your conscious mind, you ask your inner mind, you ask your higher self if you work with that kind of energy, and you ask your inner wisdom to allow these kind of the blockages to clear and allow the change and transformation to happen in a way that is for your greatest and highest good, and in a sense that for you it's right, it's healthy, and it's ecological, such that you remain in that place and that space where you have clarity, where you're clear, where you're aligned, and you can still get the benefits of those changes and transformations while feeling grounded and whole and complete. So you might just also want to ask your inner mind and your inner wisdom to work with you to facilitate that process as well. And it is the way I've always described it, and I've described it since the year 2000, is the ripple effect. And the ripple effect is often very gentle for people. They will just be a couple of days down the line and suddenly realize that the thing they've been worrying about for the last few days, weeks, months, years, or even the whole lifetime is just completely gone. But there isn't a moment. It's not like thunder came down and went bang and they went, oh my God. It's just kind of subtle. So one of the things I'm also going to say is over the coming hours, days, weeks, months, even years, the longest I've had a client get back in touch randomly out of the blue was 10 years. Not spoken to him in that time, sends me an email recommending a colleague that he was working with as an executive coaching client, saying she's looking for a coach. I told her you'd be brilliant. And then he said, oh, I've been meaning to get in touch with you and tell you that the impact of that one-day breakthrough session, and the words he used were, the impact of that is still rippling throughout my entire life. And I was like, I think we did that 10 years ago. And I went back to my database, and sure enough, we did the one-day breakthrough session 10 years prior. The effect of that was still rippling. And so with the ripple effect, and that's, you know, it was my logo before then, but it's what that logo kind of means to me. So over the coming days, weeks, months, even years, every time you notice that something has shifted, something has changed, something has improved, something is different, and it's moving you closer to where you want to be and the state you want to be. And even if you're not 100% there yet, what you want to do is celebrate that change and celebrate that improvement. So give yourself high five, thumbs up, pat on the back, do your happy dance, whatever it is, but make sure you acknowledge the change, because that is then how you create the ripple effect. So kind of keep that one in mind. Right, it's 1818. 1818, and I'm on page 5. Okay, right, all right. So let me just do a touch base here. Let me get myself back into the room. All right, so okay. Oh, that's a nice one from Andrew. So Andrew Mondia says, at least ask for a donation or pay what you can. I think that is an absolutely lovely idea. So many things on health to be cleared. Can't do all of those consistently. Right, so let's just do a little bit of a touch base. Coral says, this, exclamation mark. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know how you're doing, and also how you're doing for time as well. And while we're having a little bit of a break in that, I'll also tell you what else I had planned in terms of the way I'd laid this out, because this platform is also a networking platform. And it was actually fashioned, because when I first saw it, I'm like, that's a bit like speed dating. And they laughed and said, we did model it on speed dating. So one of the things that it's got a networking option. And where we are now in the sessions, I've also set it up that people can open up their own sessions. So for example, Andrew might have said something. You go, oh, Andrew, that's a great idea. What do you mean by that? When we finished here, you and Andrew could go in, Andrew or you could set up a room, like your own room in the sessions, because there's a blue button on the right-hand side that says create your own session. And you could create a video session where both of you are on camera talking. So you can make a definite intention to connect. Or Farhan might have said something and somebody else goes, oh my God, because Farhan is an expert in SEO and that sort of thing. And you might think, oh my God, I totally need to know something about that. So Farhan might set up a room and you can go and speak to Farhan about something. I'm not assuming these people will set up rooms that they want to talk to you, but if they were willing, that's how it can work. And then there's another aspect to it as well, which is the networking button, which sits just underneath the sessions button. And the way that networking button works, and this is where it's like the speed dating, you press that button, and once you've pressed it, it puts you into the pool. And the system then searches for the next person walking past virtually, and it connects two of you. So there's only two of you in a networking session, and you're on camera. And you talk for a set amount of time. Actually, I'll have to check and see what I set the time for. It might be set for their silly 3 minutes at the moment. If I can, I'm not sure if I can change the settings now we're live, I'll check. But if I can, I normally set it for like 10 minutes. So each person has enough time to have a bit of a chat, but of it has to have even numbers, and there has to be somebody else who's pressed the button to say yes. And at the end of that time, you can exchange your business cards if you filled in the little profile thing when you logged in. Or if not, you just go, great, thank you so much, great to speak to you, and then you just move on to the next thing. So that's how the networking bit works, and that's how now, and Farhan says, how brilliant, happy to hang out after, and Andrew says, same for me, and Amana says, I promise you I had the very same thought come to mind 20 minutes ago, and I hesitated to say it. Let us know how to donate. You are truly amazing, and I love your heart. Oh, that's lovely, Amana. And I wasn't even, when I was reading Andrew's comment, I wasn't actually thinking about me. I was thinking about what I was reading from the other person. That's very sweet of you. Yeah, that'd be cool. So there we go. Perfect. All right then, because we still want to do some, we want to do some Huna as well. So let's see. Oh, Paula, lovely to have you here. Paula says, thank you for helping all of us. You're most welcome. Now, so we're going to have a little bit of a breather. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a round of Huna, because there may be people who are on this going, look, dude, you said, well, the agenda was there for sure, saying I'm leaving this space open until 8 p.m. I'm not suggesting for a moment all of you would be here till 8 p.m. But it was because, but the thing about this is once this closes, everything's just gone after that. But I thought if people were here, that sense of loneliness, I could see it coming through a lot when I was looking at the surveys. And so I thought, actually, I'll just leave it open. So if people are here, or they maybe come a bit later and this bit's finished, and there are still people on the system, they can network, you can have your own breakout chat, and it might be just a nice way to get some additional human contact and meet some new people. Now, for those for whom they were like, oh, I'm out of my comfort zone in terms of stepping out, I am totally going to recommend that you have a play with the networking, because even though I've used this a lot, I'm telling you, I've used it a lot. There's still that moment of anticipation when you press the networking button and then it starts spinning and it says it's searching for someone. You're like, oh my God, who will it be? Who will I get? And then bang, somebody just appears on camera. It's kind of crazy cool and a little bit and exciting all at the same time. That is brilliant. Oh my gosh. Now, okay, somebody's saying, can we donate via PayPal? Oh, this is so cool. It's not quite what I expected, but that's very nice. Oh, Sammy, that's so lovely. So you really do have a beautiful heart and soul. That is so lovely. And Farhan, it is chat roulette. That is totally it. And it's random. You don't get the same person twice. And, you know, when I'm doing, let's say if I was doing an expo where I had guest speakers, I can set it up that only the speakers can network with the speakers and only the attendees can network with the attendees, or you can just put so when I ran the FLP, the Future Life Progression Expo with Anne Jersh, all of the speakers were in the mix, and there was one of the speakers I wanted to speak to because she was going on next. I'm like, oh God, I really want to talk to her. I'm going to have to send her an email. I clicked the networking, there she was on screen. So there has always been that sense of synchronicity and divine timing with it, but it is totally oh, Neelam, and oh good, I was about to read Amana saying, hey Neelam, but you found each other. What time did I say the networking was over? Once we finished here, the networking will be, and the networking is technically open right now, but if it was just you, the system can't match you with anyone. But if there are a couple of people and I'm fed up with Marilyn now, I'm going to networking, you can do it now. But once we finish here, so I'm going to do a round of Huna. I'm going to do a round of Huna, and then if people want to go forth and network, you can do that. Right, let me just have a look at something. All right, look. Do you know what? I've always wanted to know if this works. So this would be a really great chance, because I use a PayPal Me button all the time. If somebody wants to book something and it's not on my website yet, or whatever, they're doing a different sort of deal, I will use my PayPal Me link. So I've just put that in. I've never used the PayPal Me link without putting something after the /, because if like you're doing a coaching session, you put / and then whatever the price is of the coaching session after the /. I've always wondered, because I've seen some people who do have a PayPal Me donate button, and they've used the link, and then people put in the amount that they want to donate. I'm like, how the hell did they do that? I need to find out. I suspect it's using the link that I've just put in, where it will then take you, but I've not checked it. I've never used it, but that was my first thought. Oh, yeah, Fahane saying yup. Okay, cool. Well, therefore, that's the link. It's the paypal.me / Marilyn Devonish / nothing. But I've never used it, but I've wondered in the past if that's the way they do it. PayPal Me is great. They can just put in the amount, and it is then they put, okay, cool. That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure if that was, you just use that same link and just take off the set amount price. But give it a go, let me know. So it's in there. Right, so let's do a round of Huna. I might take my rings off so they don't go flying everywhere. Right. Oh, and by the way, this is the Huna symbol. And the triangle represents the dichotomy. A bit like in access consciousness, we're saying right and wrong, good and bad. Those are polarity points. This is exactly the same. In Huna terms, they call it the dichotomy. So those opposing forces. And they say when you can hold two opposing forces peacefully, it then collapses it into the EO and goes into the space within the space. So the bit of amethyst you can see in the center of the circle, that's technically the EO. And that's the space within the space where you dissolve things. So the Huna symbol is basically the way that the access consciousness statement works, where it's collapsing things down, right and wrong, good and bad. Bosch takes them, collapses them down. Are you talking about showing the Huna symbol again, Sammy? So if so, I'll just do that just in case anyway. So that's the Huna symbol. Cool, there you go. And so that basically, that encompasses all of Huna. It's the symbol that basically, there are Huna symbols, which we're going to do now, but this is then the, if you know, like if you have a logo, like there's a logo for every product. So Apple is the, you know, the Apple. It's basically, let's call it the logo for Huna, but there are symbols within Huna that we're going to get into. Oh, that's so lovely. Fahan says, yup, the PayPal link works to send the money. That's great. Perfect. Thank you for testing that out. I'd love one of those. Heidi, I purchased it out in Hawaii when I went out to study Huna I went first in 2005, and then I went back to do the next level in 2009. So I don't know that it's a piece that is available generally, but I purchased it when I was out in Hawaii. This one is white gold, because I like gold, but a gold, it doesn't show up particularly well on my skin tone. So I went with the next best thing, but I don't know that they're available outside of Hawaii. It is very special. And when we bought them, we took it to an ancient volcano site and did the blessings of the gods and did an offering with it. So yeah, it was a bit of a ceremony around it. I do like a bit of ceremonial stuff. All right, so we're going to do a round of Huna to clear out some of this energy. And just because I can now feel it in my throat, I think we're going to start with clearing the throat. The whole thing about self-expression is where we're going to start, and then that's where we go from. Actually, Amana, I'm just thinking about it. I think you were there the very first time I did Huna and Access on photo reading. That was the one where we were at the BBC, and I believe you were there. Suki was there. Ashling was there. I actually think you were there for that very first time I ever did a version of this. I believe it was I just had a vision of that photo reading class. I'm like, oh my God, I think Amana was there. Right, so. Alrighty. Okay. Coral, I might have a picture of it somewhere. So I'll pin it somewhere. Right. And with the Huna energy, you don't have to do anything. You can just, like we had, you know, have I got your permission to do the access clearing? You can just do the, yes, you have my permission. Give yourself permission to receive the Huna clearing energy. Coral, you're most welcome. Right, here we go. No, we don't go. One other thing, notice how you're feeling now in terms of your mind, in terms of your physical body, if you've got something going on with you. Just and a scale of 1 to 10, well, 1 equals I feel like crap and 10 equals I feel amazing. So just benchmark where you are now. And then you can benchmark when we finish, and you can benchmark yourself in a few days, just so you will have a bit of a barometer. And every single time you notice an improvement, you celebrate that and you say to your inner mind, unconscious mind, however you language it, you say, thank you for that, more of the same, please. Thank you for that, more of the same, please. And that's one of the ways that you get that kind of snowball momentum going. All right, perfect. 7. Whenever I see 7, I think of Len Goodman from Strictly. 7. 6, cool, fab. Right, here we go. Here we go. 6, 4, 8, 6. It's like bingo. Right, okay. 6, 4, 6, 6. Love it. Cool, fabulous. So that's your number, and you know that, so you know what that means to you. And then I always say to my clients, what would the next number be? So if you're a 4, what would a 5 look like, feel like, sound like? If you're a 7, what would the 8 look like, feel like, sound like? Because what you want to do is you want to start future pacing your mind and paving the way for, this is where I'm heading. And then when you notice those things, you might say, well, you know, I wake up stressed, and you're up for an hour before you remember to be stressed. For example, that hour that you have peace, that hour that it's your whole mind isn't kind of swamped and overwhelmed and pervaded, that hour is success. And you go, fantastic, wonderful, more of the same, please. And then a few days later, you might not remember to get stressed and overwhelmed until lunchtime. Most people will moan about the fact that, oh my God, see, I'm still stressed and overwhelmed. I'm like, hold on there a minute, dude. What about the half a day that you weren't? Whereas previously it was from the moment you got up. And so that's the way you want to start looking at it when there's so much data and, quite frankly, bad and scary news coming at us from all quarters. Even if you don't physically sit and watch the news, if you are on social media, those things are probably going across your radar. So every single time you notice a movement towards the number that you're going for, you want to celebrate that, and you want to kind of thank your unconscious mind for doing that for you and facilitating that process. Right, okay. Let's do that. All right, so we are going to do some Huna and clear the energy, clear some energy. Right, here we go. Anything else you want to interrupt with before we say here we go again for the umpteenth time? Tell me now while I drink my water. If not, let's go. Okay, I think we're all good. Here we go. Okay. How was that for you? So feeling a bit lighter, good, wow. Oh, tears streaming, really nice, cool, fabulous. And in one of those things, I know some people are sometimes aware of the fairies, I felt like the throat was clearing right at the very end, fantastic, feeling softer, wow, just about to kind of click out, calming, thank you. Oh, that's brilliant. My heart feels like it's been tugged. Thank you for the fire energy, cool. Sammy says amazing. Amana says I had tears and I felt my heart beating through my fingertips. Oh, that's nice, that's wonderful. Feel a bit better than I did, thank you. Maybe I scored backwards. Very deep, felt lots of movement of energy up in the back of the spine as well. Brilliant. Oh, Dr. Margot is here. I don't know if you saw a webinar that Dr. Margot Livingston and I did a couple of weeks ago. She has a PhD, Doctor of Immunology and Hematology. We did a video webinar workshop because I thought who better than someone who is qualified in all of the things that this is about. And she actually said, oh, my thing is viruses. And she's also a certified nurse practitioner, so can do remote sessions via Skype, etc., and has prescribing powers. I actually Dr. Margot, I was on BBC Breakfast News last Friday just gone, and doing a kind of a thank you for people. And there was a woman on when I was watching, because it was called the Hero Half Hour, where you say thank you to people who you're grateful for during this time and people on the front line. And there was a woman who was on before me, and she said, yes, I'm a nurse practitioner. And she said, I have the same, basically, she said, her words were, basically, I'm the same as a GP and very similar to a junior doctor. That was her description of the nurse practitioner, and it was on BBC News, so that was amazing. What I will do is, actually, while we're about it, let me just see if I can find it nice and quick. I'll put the link into the webinar, because we were, going through some of the myths, the misconceptions and things that you can do, etc. Let's see. Ooh, if I have it to hand, I will. Oh, there we go. The truth about the coronavirus. So what I'll do is I'll put a link to that in the chat. There you go. So I think you have to, I can't remember if it's completely open. You might have to put your name and email address in, but I've just put the link there where you can actually watch the video replay. It was absolutely fascinating. And Amana says, by the way, I was at the workshop when you did the first Huna with photo reading. I was trying to PayPal, got kicked out, so didn't hear what you were saying. Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just saying, I think you were there on that the very first time I did this with a group at a workshop. So that was that. Dr. Margot, you are most welcome. Right. So what I might say now is just, because there are times where you can kind of be a little bit overloaded. So we kind of did quite a lot in terms of the Huna energy clearing, and I'm aware we're kind of halfway through the page. So I think it might be a lot just to keep going and keep going and keep going. I might do like a part 2, and we'll then work through the next layer of things, just in the same way I might stagger a breakthrough session. So we might do it in blocks of 2 or 3 hours. You have a bit of chance to process, then we do the next blocks, we have a bit of chance to process, we do the next blocks. We might do a part 2 of this to go through the rest. Natasha says, thank you so much for this evening. And Natasha, thank you. I believe you're still kind of on the front line with the care homes that you run and the carers, the team of carers. Heidi says that would be fab. Perfect. So here's what I'm going to suggest for those of you who have got a little bit more time on your hands. What you might, oh really? Sorry, I'm talking, but there's a whole other conversation in my head. It was like one of the top things was about the Huna. We're doing Huna and Access on the survey that people filled in terms of what would you like, because I wanted to use that survey as well, because I was thinking of doing like a bit like a mini summit where I interview people who I think could really help. So Dr. Margot would be one of those people. One of my clients, Edda, loves EFT and does EFT. So I was thinking she could come on and do an EFT session. Dr. Margot could come on and do something from the medical perspective and maybe kind of a bit of a Q&A. There's Naomi, who is on this this webinar today. She's been a single mum working from home for many years, so she was offered to do a piece around that, and her business is also crystals. And so we were also thinking maybe we could do something about how do you harness the energy of crystals around this time. So that is something I was thinking of doing, and I was going to be using the results of that survey to then give me a steer. Okay, what do people most need at the present time? And then we'll do a series of webinars or do a summit or something like that. So if that would be of interest, also let me know. Also, that's a good point. If you haven't filled out the survey, that would be amazing. Let me just find the link for that as well, because I don't want to just do so. I mean, I could sort of guess, take a pretty good guess. Chris, I think you summed it up beautifully in terms of the mood overall. So I could do a good guess of what people want, but it's much easier if I just ask people and they tell me. I figured that was just the best thing to do. So Coronavirus Summit, was that the one? Yes, I believe it was. There we go. So I'm going to drop this. Some of you filled it in already. If you haven't, you can just fill that in, and then it gives me a sense of who to bring to you. Okay. Really? Sorry, the voice in my head was like, well, people were saying that tarot was one of the top things requested. I was saying in people, what would help you? And they were saying tarot for a sense of moving forwards, etc. So what I might do is just pull, for those of you who are into such things, I know my Tarot Tuesday, oh God. Well, you might not know, for those who do Tarot Tuesday every month, I do individual readings for anyone who wants one every single month in my Facebook membership group. We do it as a Facebook Live, so I'll be doing that tomorrow. Sometimes I don't always pay attention to cards that drop, because my very first tarot teacher, lovely lady called Faye Charlotte, she tells this wonderful story where she says she was teaching someone tarot. So she's shuffling the cards and she dropped a load of them. And the person went, oh my God, what does that mean? And Faye went, it means I dropped the cards. And I just fell about laughing. She shared this with me over 20 years ago. That's always stuck in my mind. And there are times where I would call it's a leaping card, where it gets your attention. Hadn't even started shuffling there, and this one leapt out. And the first thing I saw, I'll read it because it might not be very clear here. The first thing I saw is the words, it is safe to trust. So I'm going to tell you what it says. This is the King of Raphael. And weirdly, and the King is like, highest, lowest, don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean the King is better. But in terms of the stack, the King is the highest card, if you want to put it that way. Bit like if you were playing cards, you've got your ace and your jack, king, queen, etc. This is a bit like that. And Raphael, weirdly, is all about healing and all about love. So I think it's the perfect card to have leapt out. I've got goosebumps now that I'm talking. So it says King of Raphael, warm, generous, honorable, refined. And then it says, yes, it is safe to trust, exclamation mark. And then it says the ability to accomplish many, oh my God, the ability to accomplish many things at once. Follow your creative passions. So, you know, when I said it felt like I kept banging on about stepping up, stepping out, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, really? Is this right? This basically is that card that comes up and basically gives you a gentle boot up the behind and says, come on now. This is what it's all about. I'm going to read that again. Yes, it is safe to trust. The ability to accomplish many things at once. Follow your creative passions. And for those of you who work with energy, angels, etc., what you might want to do, you can, and there's a card, I've got a healing deck up there, and there's a card of Raphael, and someone is actually on a drip. So they've got a drip, bit like actually it's a bit like the pictures we've seen of the coronavirus. And what it is, Raphael is encircling them with that wonderful emerald green energy, and it's healing them while they are resting and while they are sleeping. So one of the things I'm going to suggest for those of you who work with this kind of energy and like this sort of stuff, what you might kind of ask is that while you're sleeping peacefully tonight, and even now, you could call in that wonderful kind of almost like you're wearing an emerald green cloak that you can see out of and see through, but it's still that protective energy. And you might want to say, while I'm sleeping peacefully tonight, inviting in that wonderful emerald green energy of Raphael to be healing you and your loved one, your family members, and those of you who have someone who is unwell and is down with the coronavirus or some other illness, because it's not just about that. We know there are many other things happening in the world. But if somebody you know, you want to send healing to them, you ask if it's okay to, and we want their permission to send it. And then you can also invite that wonderful energy to permeate over to them too. Oh, brilliant. Click the eye with the number of participants. Okay, perfect. Fabulous. Naomi says, I love Tarot Tuesday. So do I. Brilliant. Heidi, I posted the link. So that actually, weirdly, the link to the survey is now just above your head. Several people are saying, oh, a summit sounds good. I filled it in at the beginning. Linda says that sounds fab. Coral sounds good. Brilliant. Good. Well, I'm glad you think it's a good idea. But I just didn't want to just do it for the sake of it or make stuff up. I'm good at making stuff up. We know this if you follow me or if you follow me for a while. And I thought this actually was a good time to get the voice of the people and go, what do you need? I've got a massive database of wonderful people, and I would then go into that database and say, hey, and for you guys in the membership group, there's a thread in there already where I've said, what do you want to do? Have you got a skill that you could bring to people that will be useful for them right now? Join me, speak on the summit. So that's already in the membership group. And Heidi says, like, oh, are you guys already planning for the next one? Heidi says, I can do every night. Right. Oh, and Andrew says, like, oh, you're such a star. Andrew says, I posted the link in the events as no one is chatting there. Good point. Perfect. So click on, because there's two, it says event or session. So you can click on one of those. And so Farhan says, would anyone, now Farhan, what you're going to do when we finish here, click on sessions again, and there's a blue button. Now you can do it right now, then you can just pop back in here if you want. There's a blue button, and you can create your own. So just you might call it Farhan's room, Farhan SEO or whatever. So just so it's obvious that you've created it. Oh, brilliant. So Heidi says, sorry, I'm sending healing every night. Perfect. So Farhan says, yep, seen it already. So my suggestion is, for those who are up for a little bit of experimentation, what you might want to do, click on the networking and be brave. Now, if you haven't brushed your hair, my friend Gina Batts says, if you feel like you look like the wreck of the Hesborough, then you might want to quickly drag on a top and, smooth your hair down. But if you're ready to rock and roll, what I'm going to suggest we do is that we go to the networking, you click the button, it's going to spin. Actually, what I've got to do is I want to see, I've got to see if I can adjust the time, because that's one thing I don't think I did. is adjust the time, because I think by default it's set for 3 minutes, and that might be fine actually. You don't really, if you don't know each other, 10 minutes might be quite a long time. You might think, yeah, all right, I'm done now, thanks very much. But I might set it for like if you've got a preference, put it in. I don't know if I can edit an event while it's live. I'm going to see if I can. Networking. Oh yeah, 6:12. It's set for 3 minutes at the moment. With the networking, given it is going to be a complete random stranger, although some of you do know each other, but you can't guarantee you're going to get someone you know. How many minutes do you want me to set it for? And I'll see if I can do it because it's set for 3 minutes at the moment. 6 minutes. Vahan says 6. 5. Okay, cool. So I don't know if it's going to work. It might not work. It might be that I can't actually. Okay. I don't know if it will take the settings and allow me to adjust it. I think it has. All right. All right, so we've gone 5.5 minutes, and there's a timer clock along the top, so you can basically see how much time you've got left, and the system is brutal. Once you finish, it just cuts you off. So if you know a couple of minutes in that you might like to exchange details, that's fine, do that. So if you want to network, if you're feeling brave, and I'm going to be in a networking room as well, no problem, Linda, off you go. Lovely, thank you for joining us. If you want to have a play, when is part 2? Not sure yet. I can't do now. Don't worry, I won't be doing it now. Have to leave. Want to say a huge thank you. You're most welcome. But if you want to have a little bit of a play with the networking, you're feeling brave, press the networking button. And what I might do is I'll do a few, and maybe if you want me to pull a tarot card for you, I'll do that. And then if you want to talk about something, or you want to join Fahan, you could, and so let's say Naomi, if you were still here, you might want to just say a few words about the crystals, for example. If somebody has crystals at home and you think, oh, I can maybe help you, and you might just want to have a little chat about that. I have a hovering hungry person. Thank you for today. You're most welcome. You're most welcome. There we go. Right. All right. So for those who want to play with networking and maybe do a quick tarot reading, press that button. And if you need to go, that is cool too. And so I'm going to head out of here now, which means I will leave this screen and I will go into the networking. I have my tarot cards ready, and we'll have a little play. And then this room is open until 8 p.m. and then it closes itself down. You're most welcome. Cool. Well, lovely to see you all. Thank you so much for coming. That's cool. Coral. No, what I'll do with the tarot readings, I'll do those in the networking that we're going to do now. So it won't be a separate session. It will be in the networking. So if you happen to be paired with me during the speed networking, I will have my cards here to the ready. That's what I mean by that. Cool. Perfect. Wonderful. Well, I will catch you all later. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the feedback. That's been amazing. And I will see some of you in the networking. And also, if there are a couple of breakout rooms, I'll pop in there for a bit as well. Cool. Thank you so much. Catch you all later. You're most welcome. You're most welcome.